And there we go. Okay, because most of you have mentioned that they don't know much about ECD. ECD is a short form of early childhood development, and it is a period of rapid and critical development from conception to 8 years for children. It is a unique window of opportunity for children's cognitive, social, emotional, and physical development. A child's early years are the foundation for his or her future development, providing a strong base for lifelong learning and learning abilities, including cognitive and social development. Investing in the early years is one of the smartest things a country can do, and Kenya has seen a need to address early education to ensure that first, more children have access to schools, and second, that a solid foundation for future learning and growth has been laid down. Hence, that now the national government allocates resources for early learning within the 47 counties, and the county governments have been asked to prioritize early childhood development, ECD, to enable children reach their full developmental potential. And if you have noticed, that's all out. That's a brief of what ECD is, early childhood development. And when I know most of you have received emails from Kurasa. So Kurasa has been very kind to us educators by giving us this platform to learn from each other. Kurasa is an innovative Kenya-based EdTech solution that's supporting teachers and schools to better execute CBC, competence-based curriculum implementation. Kurasa is currently used by 160 plus teachers across 90 plus classrooms and by over 500 parents. Today, we are launching What's All About Wednesday, Wednesday's edition 002. Last week, we had our first launch, which was presented by Mr. Frank Otieno of Standard Media Group to understand the newspaper in education and its impact on learning outcomes in schools. Today, for our second edition, we have a wonderful lady with us, an award-winning educator, a guru in early years, has a passion for children and passionate about all things early years. She's doing tremendous work in the ECD, early childhood development sector in Kenya, and we're happy to have her here with us today evening. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Ms Grace Waithira, founder of Twiga Soma Africa. Karibu sana, Ms Grace.
Thank you so much, Khadija. It's such a privilege to be here. Like you said, my life revolves around early childhood education. So wherever there's a platform available, such as yourselves, I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You may go ahead. And what do you do? What does your organization do? Who are you? Want to learn more about the Soma Twiga Africa?
All right, so my name is Grace Waithira, as you already heard. I've been a teacher for 25 plus years, focusing on the early years because I believe in the foundations. For me, early years is everything because just like a building, the tallest building in, the farthest you want your child to go will depend on how much you've invested in the early years. So this is a critical stage, and that's where we at Twiga Soma Africa are focusing on. So what is Twiga Soma Africa? Twiga Soma Africa is a company that is developing resources for empowering our teachers and also our students to make their life in early years fun, and also they're able to learn in a way that you can actually measure. For example, we have developed workbooks that are now available in Naivas and also in our stores that our children can use in the classroom as they're learning to expound on what they're learning. Yeah, so that's basically it. We also train teachers. We we believe that a classroom cannot run very well without an empowered teacher. So we also focus on that. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing.
Okay. How did Twiga Soma Africa come about?
Okay, the Twiga Soma Africa came about as a result of a need. So I'll just share a small story. I hope you people like hadithi, eh? So my story begins from a little village called Kiagige. The reason I went to that village while I was still a teacher here in Nairobi was because I read in the newspaper that, you know, when the results come out from KCPE, everybody rejoices and we're very proud of the ones who do very well. But on that paper that particular day, they had listed the 10 worst performing schools, and 3 out of 10 were from my village. I come from Gatanga, and that's in Murang'a County. So that was a bit of a shock to me because I never expected that. So I decided to go back home to my grandfather's area and find out what on earth is going on there. And lo and behold, I actually got to understand why we're doing so poorly in KCPE, because the foundation was very weak. In fact, it was literally non-existent. Our children were not given an opportunity to learn, you know, and get ready for class, you know, grade 1, what we call grade 1 today. So I needed to do something. So it became a personal challenge I took upon myself. And to cut the long story short, the community allowed me to teach the teachers, to train the teachers, and then also train the little children. Within 3 months, our children were reading in class 1, level 4 Ladybird series, which was quite a miracle in that area. And that group, that particular group that was in class 1, they just finished their class 8 this year, March 2022. And I'm excited to tell you and share with you that our highest student got 384.
Nice.
So for us, it was a huge miracle. And I thought, you know, how can we multiply this? How can this story be multiplied everywhere? So whatever I used to train them at that time, one of those, the head teacher of the school said, why can't you put those 2 little papers you've been showing us in a book? And that was the beginning of Twiga Books. And we incorporated it under Twiga Soma Africa because we want this vision to go across our borders and assist many other nations. So thank you. I hope I've summarized it well. You can ask any questions.
Okay, how do you share the books with the schools? How do you share the books, and what does the books entail? What does it have?
So I brought in a couple of books to show you. So for example, this is Twiga Books. I hope you can see clearly. So our books are both serialized, as you can see. We have numbers, so we have both math and language books. So we have serialized our books and colored them different colors so that it's easy for parents to follow through. It's easy for the teacher. So the things that we call lesson plans or schemes of work are all incorporated in these books. And then they are accessible in our market. So this is PP2 series, for example, it's color blue. So if you go to Naivas or you just call us directly, most schools, we visited schools, we are constantly visiting schools to share because our books were approved by KICD. As you can see, we have a stamp there in November, just last year. So this particular year has just been about going to let people know about this new solution that we have for both our teachers and our students, and also for parents who want to work, you know, from home. There's a lot of homeschoolers these days, so this is another opportunity for them. So that's how we spread. We're also on Instagram. We're on word of mouth has been very powerful. When you find a parent such as yourself, they haven't seen the book. They're seeing that the child has a bit of challenge reading. They normally also introduce us to their schools so that the head teacher gets to know about us. And then that's how we're spreading across the country.
Okay. Do you train teachers with your books before they start using them with the students?
Actually, that's our advantage of using our books, because we don't want just people to buy the books for the sake of buying the books. We want to actually develop relationships with our whoever will buy our books. And one of the biggest advantages of using our books is that we train. So we make sure that the very reason we wrote those books is actually being manifested. It's actually happening in our children, that literacy is no longer a problem. So perhaps some people may be asking, what is literacy? I don't know whether
can you
I can break that up. Sorry?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so literacy. Yeah, so literacy starts from, literally the day the child is hearing and can hear sounds, the way children sing and the way they talk, all that is part of literacy. So reading books to our little children, even though they can't read, but you're reading that book for that child and they can share back that story to you. So they start getting exposed to reading materials. That's how literacy begins. And then you create an interest right from home or from the early years. When they go to school, they're not yet reading, but they know that this is a book and they desire to listen to that story. And when it's story time, they are attentive and they're able to also correspond and talk to the person involved in the reading. So that's part of it. So as the children are growing, they begin to listen to the sounds and they can begin to identify the different sounds. As they grow up, they begin to write those sounds. So it's a process. And then eventually they join the letters that they have been exposed to, and then it becomes a word, 2 words become, a phrase. Before you know it, it's a little sentence. So that is a process we can't deny. And it all starts from singing that song, listening to the story, sharing your story, just talking to the children. So that's what I love about literacy, because literacy connects people. I mean, who doesn't like a story, a good story? Yeah, so it's supposed to be fun.
Okay. Tell us a bit about the state of our country in terms of literacy. Is grade 1 actually at the expected level? And how are we bridging that gap in terms of literacy in our country?
Okay, thank you for that. The reason I'm so passionate about literacy is because I actually, when I went to that school, I talked to you a country about, imagine those children were in class 1 and they couldn't even tell you the sound or even the name of the letter, C or O, or the sound K or O. So, and they're in class 1. So I really was very surprised, because I hadn't actually met a group of children like that. But it's with time I've come to be exposed to more and more children. And I've realized when you go to a lot of schools, you find a child in class 4, even class 8, and they still can't read and write. I have actually seen a report from the World Bank, that was 2017 World Bank report, that says over 40% of our Form 4 leavers here in Kenya are leaving Form 4 without basic literacy skills. So basically they can't read and write. And those are the ones who have not dropped off along the way. I actually met a child who was now in Form 2 who had dropped out. So we really tried to encourage him and tell him to please just join a technical college, like a TVET. Mm-hmm. And when he went in, of course, the first thing he was given was a form to write his name. And this is a Form 4 dropout, a Form 2 dropout. And when he was given the form to write his name, he just left it on the table, turned around and came back to his father's house. And we asked him, what is wrong? What happened? Can you imagine? He told us, they gave me a form to write my name and I don't know how to write my name. So I didn't want to embarrass myself, so I'm not going back there again. I'm just going to be a tea picker or somebody on the farm, a laborer in the farm. This is a Form 4 child. So the question we should, Form 2, sorry. So the question we should be asking ourselves is why our children attending PP1, PP2, going and finishing class 8, and they can't read? What's wrong? And even going on to Form 4. So that became an alarm bell for me. And that's why I thought, you know what, it's time to do something. Let me do my little part. And that's why I do what I do.
Okay, great. I know there's also a study that says of children struggling to learn to read in first grade, like nearly 90% will be poor readers. And in fourth grade, when reading to learn is essential, and most of them are not able to read at proficient level by fourth grade, are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. My question is, does this imply these students or are from public government schools or also private schools?
Oh, that's the biggest mystery, that these students are actually everywhere, because it doesn't matter whether you're in public or private or, I don't know, homeschool. If your foundation was not right, you see, the beauty about children is that they can't lie. We can force them to read, we can get them to cram, we can get to do anything you want to do with our children. But the fact is, they will still let you know that they can't read. So I wouldn't say that majority are in private or public and all that. I would just say if any child out there who did not get the proper foundation can struggle with their literacy. Yeah. So when we as Twiga Soma Africa, we are going to both private and we are also visiting public schools. So we're in conversation with some of the county leaders.
Okay. By bridging the gap of literacy, apart from the Twiga books, what else are you doing? I know you're doing training for teachers. What else are you piloting to bridge the gap in early literacy?
I know. So one of the things that we notice is, it's good to tell people, oh, it's good to read for your children, make sure there's a book to read. But guess what? The children don't have books to read. So one of the things that we did include very deliberately was to have stories in the front of our books. So you'll find a story that our children can relate to. The other thing is that we have something we're calling our Twiga box. It's called a Twiga treasure box. The treasure box is so important because it gives the teachers the resources that they need. And some of them are just things, stories, little stories where children can begin. I hope you can see. From whatever levels. I told you we have this is the pink series. So there's this pink series, then there's the blue. So every level has its own little booklets like this. We're going out and informing our communities that education is not just for the teacher. There's this proverb, the African proverb, we all know that a child is raised by a village. So we need to go back to those basics. So we do not leave out the community because the community are the parents. They will be the people who will back us up from home. We can't leave out the government. So we are informing the governments as well. We're working very closely, like getting our books approved by KICD. It's going through the process of government, which is very critical. And then the teacher is so key because he's the person that is left in the classroom to handle those children. So we, like you said, we train them, we show them practicals. It's not just lectures, giving them slides and all that. We actually sit down and actually teach them what to do tomorrow. When the children come here, when they finish this book one, what do you do before you issue something we call a certificate at the end of our books? Before you issue this book, how sure that the content of this book has been understood, for example? We have made things so easy. So one of the biggest things in literacy is handwriting. So we've made our books so easy so that handwriting is never an issue. So we have something here called anti-clockwise letters. So in here alone, just this book alone, it's about all the letters that are supposed to be written in one particular direction, instead of confused. I don't know whether you've been a teacher, I'm sure, Khadija,
Yes,
you have seen children who are confused with letter B and letter D.
Yes.
You've seen that, yeah?
9. And letter P and number 9.
Exactly. It's just because of the way it was introduced to them. So when we have divided our letters in this manner, it helps the children understand why we should write letter D that in a specific way and a letter B. So there's a reasoning. So one of the biggest things is always to answer the why. Why are we writing like this? Why are we reading this? Why are these books pink? Why are they numbered? So if we get the whys, then people really run for it, because I have never seen a child using our materials or a teacher trained through us who's now not enjoying. One of our mission statement is discover the joy of learning, because once a teacher has the freedom and has understood how to teach children, she enjoys it, and that just automatically exudes from the children. So the classroom is a fun place to be. It's not supposed to be so rigid.
Right, and are the books like parent friendly? You know, some parents are not educators.
Okay, thank you for mentioning that. One of the biggest things that I love about our books is because they're serialized. I'm telling you, you can't go wrong. So you go from number 1, then you go to number 2. So there's no jumping. Like I've seen during the COVID season, that's when I realized, oops, there's a lot of confusion in the market. There are parents who are very excited, and I like that, and they should be excited. They went out to the market, they went to the YouTube, they went and bought whatever is out there, but nobody was guiding them. Okay, at what point do I introduce the circle? After the circle, am I supposed to go to the triangle or the square? You know, those normal things that teachers know, but a parent, she would just say, well, it's shapes. This is a star, this is a rectangle. Were we supposed to introduce the rectangle before that? So we have made it so easy for them when they're doing shapes. It's very consistently done so that it's easy for the parent. And then there's so many activities. We give parents also the cues. If you see here, you'll see something called activities, so that you're cueing the parent as well as a teacher on what other activities, because when you're in the early years, you're supposed to be learning a lot more outside, playing and discovering the environment around you. So this book is supposed to be a guide on what you're supposed to be doing, apply it in the environment, and then come and confirm on the book. The book is the last resort, but it's a guide for you to know what to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a teacher? Do you have a teacher resource book apart from the cue questions that you have in the workbooks for guidance for teachers?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. We actually have 3 teachers' guides. So one is for mathematics, and it goes all the way to grade 2 material. And then we have 2 languages, 2 for literacy, language. Yeah, so in here, there are 100 ideas on what you should do when you're teaching your children. So we've made it so simple with fun activities. We have rhymes in here for every sound. When should you introduce a sound? What should you do at what level? You know, we have things like this, like a verb. You know, when you're teaching sound, this is sound V, you know, V. What for example, are the verbs related to that sound? So when you see our teacher's guides, we have a summary of what each teacher's guide is actually achieving at the end. So you can see here phonetic letters, sounds, art and craft activities, songs and rhymes, motor skills, how to develop that, different kinds of games, how to build vocabulary, how to develop concentration in children, you know, hand-eye coordination activities. So how to stimulate all their 5 senses. So it's all in here. So it's really meant to be very simple and very easy to follow.
Okay, great.
And by the way, we also train parents. So parents should never feel alone in case they need assistance.
Okay, I'm just here thinking, personally, how are you getting into piloting these books or your training for teachers and parents in low socioeconomic groups, areas? Because I know that the books, you sell the books. How are you reaching out to students, caregivers, parents, stakeholders in low socioeconomic areas, groups? Because they,
Go on.
because I know they don't have a lot of access to resources. So how are you reaching them, and how are you piloting these books in their ECD centers, in their schools? Because you know that most of them cannot afford to be able to buy the books. Are you working with the county government, national government, to pilot these books in those areas and with those students?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Just yesterday, actually, we are in talks with one county, and we have also approached 2 other counties who we are also talking to. And one of the things that we have done, we have put our prices, you know, when you see this book, we have priced it in such a way that it is affordable to any Kenyan. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. Then on top of that, we've been approached by a group of, you know, the informal schools, the schools you find in informal settlements like Kibera or Mathare and those kind of communities. They have organized themselves in something called UpBet. So UpBet, we are also working with them. We're literally working with them. So one of the wards that we're working with is Mathare. And they requested that we adjust the prices and all that so that each of those parents can afford. So we actually just finished doing a special book, same content, but reduced the prices, reduced the sizes so that they can actually afford them. So, and they approved them. So UpBet has approved this. So we're very excited because our books will now reach literally everybody. Yeah, so that's also very exciting.
Good. Okay, and you know, teachers need to refresh their knowledge each and every time. And do you have refresher courses for teachers after you've trained them, and then do you go back again and have refresher courses with them to train them again?
We have every school, majority of the schools, not every, but majority of the schools that we have visited, we have actually been requested by the school director or the head teacher to do a workshop. So even just last weekend, we were in a school that specializes in special needs, and we actually trained a couple of their teachers. So we're very much for the teacher. So training is core. It's the center of everything that will cause this thing to work. Without a trained teacher or a trained parent, these books can sit on the shelf and nothing comes out of them. So for us, that is our advantage, I keep saying. Another thing I forgot to mention is that we are also approaching NGOs to help us subsidize even the prices of the UpBet schools, and also to help us train their teachers. Because it's one thing for the parents to buy the book, but the teacher training costs money as well. And sometimes those schools are not able to stretch and train. So we are approaching NGOs as well. or people like corporate companies, CSRs, to help us with the training of teachers. Because we really believe the teacher is everything, and they have to be equipped. Yeah.
Oh, great. You just mentioned special needs. Do your books cater for inclusive learning? Does Twiga Soma Africa cater for special needs, inclusive learning?
Absolutely. You know why I say absolutely? Because you see, if you go to a typical school, you'll get one textbook for the entire year. And then what happens is that the teacher must make sure that that syllabus is covered within a specific timetabled time. Yeah? So what is good about this one is that we've broken that entire year into 4 parts. So as other children are moving forward, if you have special needs whose understanding is a bit slower than the majority of the class, it means that we can continue with this content while others are doing book 3 and 4 and continuing with 5. And this child will never miss out because she or he will go to book 2. So whether or not others are on book whatever, they will never miss out, and they will actually master their content. And that's the whole point. So when the head of that school, the director of that school who runs, I mean, she's been in this early years forever. When she saw the books, she knew this is it. This is what our children need. They need to work at an individualized pace and be respected in that sense, and not to be put in one big basket and follow everybody else. It's very unrealistic, and we're not achieving anything by doing that to that child. Why not just accept the child the way they are and then work within their limitations, because they will get it at their time. And then let's not also have everybody else in the classroom slow down because we're trying to get this one to catch up. So let the ones who are accelerating accelerate. Yeah, so we just respect everybody's pace and we move on. And that's what our books allow. And that's why they are in bits, bite-sized sizes.
So you just explained how differentiated learning is being done using your books, catering to different students' needs and abilities.
Absolutely.
And does your book, as teachers, when we facilitate learning, we first start with the known to the unknown. Do we have that in your books?
Yeah. Oh yes, that's what we're all about. Let me just give you an example I like to use. For example, you see, let's say in this particular page, we're learning about, I hope you can see, the first page here, we're learning about how to write the letter O, okay, sound O. So we have here an orange, for example. So, and an onion, you see everything here, and we also have an octopus. Oh, that's much better. So what I love about our books is that everything that is in our books, first of all, is contextualized for our Kenyan African market. So we're not going to find things that are so off the cuff from the first page, because we want the children to learn from the known to the unknown. So a teacher, for example, on this day, or even a parent, can go to the kitchen and get an orange and teach about the orange and taste the orange. Remember, we're stimulating all the 5 senses. So we'll get to learn the environmental subject. Where do oranges come from? We can go to the markets to give them the experience on how to buy up, Then we make we can make orange juice. So we're stimulating the taste. Then we color using color orange. So this lesson alone can go on and on and on. And then one of the things is that we have flashcards that we can relate to. You see, onion, oh. Instead of having things that our children cannot relate to. For example, I know in my days we learned like E for igloo. Up to date, you can see I have my white hair. I have never seen an igloo. So why talk about an igloo and we have never been, You know, how does it help us? You understand? So what we do is that we work with the pictures that they can relate to, that they can actually walk out, like avocado, for example. The avocado, which is instead of talking about apple, it's fine if you're in the urban towns, of course you'll find apples. But if you're in the rural, or even not even too far, most people don't know what are apples, at least here. I mean, in Turkana, where are you gonna get an apple easily? Why not just simply use an ant? Ants are everywhere. So for we have ants or avocado, things that they can relate to. So, I mean, literally everybody eats avocados, I think. And if you don't have an avocado, you can definitely find an ant wherever you are in this continent. You know what I mean? So we start from the known to the unknown. And that's where the books come in, where it's abstract. So we really cue our teachers. We tell them what to do, especially in our teacher's guide. We tell them what to do to stimulate all the 5 senses, to expound on the social studies, environmental studies, hygiene. You see, when you bring an orange, you can cut it up and we can share. So we're talking about community, sharing, respecting of each other, you know. So the lesson can go on and on and on and on. Yeah.
Okay. CBC, competency-based curriculum, is student-centered, right? Yeah. Are the young learners able to take action when they are using the books? Because as teachers, we consider action to be an application of learning, where students feel compelled to do something or make a change in response to something new they have learned. So can they take their ideas forward through action by using your book? Because the action strengthens learning.
Absolutely. I like giving this example for what you just asked, and I'm so glad you're asking those questions. You see, at the end of this book, this is about shapes and colors. So we have one on numbers. So at the end of this particular book, the student is being asked, because they now know what is a square, what is a circle, what is a triangle, how can you now, could you take those shapes and the teacher can actually cut out the shapes, or just give them blank sheets of papers and let them cut the shapes themselves and build a house, you see? Or give them straws and let's see, can you come up with a house? And so that's where we bring application. And then at the end of all our books, all of these books, there's always a place where you're being told to do something to confirm the lesson that you've just learned. So all our books have that. I'll give you an example, like for example, in reading, here in reading, this is book 5, let's say. The students at this, there's a story at the back here. And this book, this story has taken all the content that they have learned from book 1 to, let's say, this book 5, and introduces a story to make sure, because this is the ultimate test, can they actually read the story? Yeah, okay. So that's what we do. How can you evaluate? How can you be sure? And we have given teachers an opportunity to have that accountability where they issue a certificate, and this certificate of achievement is only meant for this book. And you cannot issue this certificate because it's a record. This is a record to confirm to us as parents or teachers or school heads that the child has understood this content.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, I lost connection somewhere.
Yeah, I heard that. So okay. It's important for the school to maintain a record to show what, you know, where are we? Where are we? I know our curriculum, the rubrics way of grading our children. How can you know that the child has met expectations? I need a record. So this is the proposed record we are giving schools or teachers to have to show a parent or proof that, yes, my child can do this or cannot do this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
so
it.
that's one of the things that's really important.
Okay. Thank you for answering my questions. Today, we only have 2 participants with questions, and I'm going to ask the first one by Sarah. Is there a criteria that you have on learners who can read but not comprehend?
That's a really, really good question, because literacy is about also comprehension. One of the things that allows children to develop comprehension is asking questions. So you who, let's say you start earlier on, read the story for the child. And then once you read the story, as you're reading, ask those questions, or ask the child to repeat that story in their own way. And that's a very good way to develop comprehension. You know, just pick up a storybook somewhere and just read a paragraph and let the children repeat that story for you, because that is how you'll know for sure that the child has understood. That's one of the things that I've done, I use. So expose them to a lot of stories and then let them engage in the story. And I'll give you a simple example. Let's say we're talking about a story about, I don't know, this particular farm. Then you say, when the avocados are ready, the farmer rides his donkey to the farm and ride on the wagon. So you say, what is the farm? How do they go to the farm? What do they ride? What are they using? So you engage the students. Yeah, that's one of the best way. That's, to me, that has always worked.
Another question from Najma. She's saying, interesting work. Have you done any evaluation on use of the books? And if kindly share the results if you have done.
The evaluation on our books, huh?
Yes, on the use of your books.
Sorry, on the?
On the use of your books.
Okay, these books, like I said, were a result of worksheets I developed when I was teaching the schools up country. So we already have the proof of concept, and they continually ended up using the books. So yes, we do have. So one of the results that I shared with you is, once the children finished and they were able to read, they moved on, and now they've actually done their class 8. And the results I shared with you, the highest child in that particular student, they got 384. So that's one of the proof of concept that we have. And many other parents who have continually bought our books. One of the things that, and I can show you, yeah, in fact, I have pictures of the students. This is the group that I met, class 1, this lot of kids. And just this is the same group now. The school grew and the children are doing so well. So some of them actually managed to get in some really good high schools. So we're very excited about that. And because I've been a teacher for 25 plus years, in the school that I was in the past, we actually tested these books for about 3 years. The parents would use them because we needed to make sure that the books are ready even to go through the process of KICD approval, which is quite a journey to go through that process. Yeah. So I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, I don't think we have any more questions. Do you have any more questions, participants? No.
There's somebody here who's asked a direct question. Do you have reader series for ECD learners? So our reading series is in the book. This is what I was sharing with you. So inside these books, instead of having, because I know readers are very important, and I 100% encourage readers. So one of the, you see, when you do this content, for example, these are blends. Huh? When you finish the blending story, we have a story here at the back that is talking about all the blends that you've just finished studying. So I wanted to have readers, for example, in the book to be sure that the child has gotten this content. So there's a lot of reading inside these books. And once the children can read at this level, then you can buy any other readers out there. We also, like I also told you, we have readers in here. We have reading cards, and in here there are little stories as well. Yeah, for the children to keep reinforcing the reading. Yeah, but a reading series like the Ladybird series is really awesome. So we hope with time we shall get to that stage and we shall develop our own readers.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
No more questions, I see. So we are going to conclude the webinar now. Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing about Twiga Soma Africa and the impact on the learners and teachers. I hope everyone has learned one of the two things from Grace. Also, thank you, Grace, for answering the questions. It was a pleasure to have you with us. And we conclude the webinar now. Thank you all for attending. We hope you have learned and enjoyed this presentation. We appreciate all of you being here. We encourage you to connect with us on social media at Kurasa Africa on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Hashtag Kurasa, WAAW, hashtag Kenya, Reimagine in Education. If you have additional questions, you can send them to 0700-200-000 or community@kurasa.org. You can always get in touch with me also if you have any questions. And thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you all next time round. Thank you.
We ask them to also follow us at Twiga Soma Africa.
Yes, Twitter, Twiga Soma Africa.
Africa, yes, on Facebook, Instagram, and also enter our website, www.twigasomaafrica.org. Thank you so much for having me.
And you can always get in touch with her. She's very hospitable.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a nice evening.
Goodbye.
Bye. Okay, very nice feedback, very illuminating. Thank you. Good session, informative, nice feedback. Grace, I bombarded you with a lot of questions.
I loved it. Thank you so much, Khadija.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We really appreciate you being here. Also, thank you, William.
I really enjoyed it.
For the technical support.
I hope I answered your questions well.
Yes, you did.
It was clear?
Yes, perfectly clear.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you'll give us the poll?
Yeah, I shared it. I shared.
Oh, you shared, okay.
Yeah, check now, I shared results. So a lot, how much do you know about ECD? So a lot, do you know a lot? I live with ECD, they're just 20%. Little was 40%. So 40% know a bit and 40% know nothing about ECD. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. It was nice. I think we had such a great time.
Yes, it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
It was worth it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us and to many more collaborating.
You did so well. You really prepared yourself, huh?
I think whenever you are explaining, then I get the questions right. Just pick up the words from what you're saying and questions come about.
Okay. Wonderful. I'm sure we'll see you soon again.
Right, have a nice evening. Take care. We'll be in touch.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay, Sam, thank you for this platform.
Karibu sana. I've really enjoyed. It was nice.
Yeah.
I was just here.
Yeah, it was exciting. I think because it was ECD,
I
I heard a lot
with
of
my
questions.
child.
Are you with your daughter?
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, I can see her.
You can see her.
I can see her fingers.